Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Big Brother Canada 11 daily drop update podcast that isn't daily, but it's almost there, but not quite. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and we are here today to update you on the latest from the Big Brother Canada 11 house. With me to do so is Mel. How you doing, Mel?
Hey, I'm doing great. Surprisingly, a little bit sad that the season is almost over. It was rough at first, but we got some good stuff in here, and I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Well, there you go. Today, not much of an update. The drop was about an hour long and mostly consisted of them getting food and eating food. So
Would have been Rob's
don't
nightmare.
yeah, don't expect much from this one. However, there is one important piece of information. We talked yesterday, both on the update and on the roundtable, about how it seemed as though Ty was leaning in the direction of keeping Daniel this week. Of course, that's because Anika won the HOH, nominated Claudia and Renee. Then Ty won the veto. He planned to use it on Claudia to force Daniel on the block. But again, it seemed like he was still going to keep Daniel and get rid of Renee. Well, we now have confirmation that A, he used the veto on Claudia and Daniel went up in Claudia's place. And B, it does in fact appear that he plans to keep Daniel and evict Renee this week. So that's the biggest piece of information.
So, what do you think about that? I've been so thinking about everything else that we're going to talk about today, but I haven't even thought about whether this is a good decision for Ty or not. I mean, is his decision based solely off of who can beat him in competitions?
I mean, I do think Renee can beat him, but I also think Daniel can beat him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Renee is maybe a little more likely to make it to part three, but that doesn't really matter because he has to face somebody in part three. So, you
Like,
know,
would one person socially be better for him than the other, or is it just comps that should all he be thinking about?
I would say that I do think that Daniel is weirdly more likely to take him to final two than Renee, when
Mm-hmm.
really neither of them should. And he also has the possibility that like Claudia is maybe a little more likely to take him over. Nah, I think Claudia would be more likely to take Anika or Daniel than Renee, to be honest. But honestly, who knows? Like, I have no idea what these people are doing socially. So, when it comes to Ty, it should just be comps, and honestly, I could go either way with that.
Yeah, I think
You
I'm with you
know,
there.
I think taking out Renee is fine. I think taking out Daniel is also fine. Either way, he got to move his weight around this week and basically gets to decide. So
Yep.
yeah. I mean, I would say honestly, if not for Kuzi, I would say this is a huge mistake. Because Kuzi is the only reason Daniel might not win a jury vote, and the only reason Renee might win a jury vote, right? If not for Kuzi, I would say massive error because it's just another example of Daniel doing well and playing a good social game, and that Daniel will crush people in the final two. Is that still the case because of Kuzi? I don't know. And I know that Ty's not thinking about it in those terms anyway. But,
Haven't we been burned by exit interviews before, though? Where I
certainly,
don't
yeah.
remember the season, but it was like leading up to it, we had one opinion, and then it was like, oh, they all voted completely different. Okay.
I mean, famously, Paris was at the bottom of
That's
everyone's
the one.
list,
Yeah.
basically. And even Ty in Big Brother Canada 9 was, not exactly at the top of everyone's list. Granted, I think the jury said in that one that they would have voted for whoever won the final three HOH, but you can't always take these things at face value. And we've talked about that, and I think the main thing would be, does Kuzi change her mind? Does she
Right.
stop being anti-Daniel, or maybe does she not have the influence that she might want to push Daniel over Ty? Those things are unclear, but I guess for that reason, I would still say Daniel probably has a better chance of winning a final two over Ty. But Daniel may also be more likely to take Ty than Renee. So again, it's kind of like,
And, like, with the information Ty has, like, he knows Kuzi's, like, super pissed at Daniel, so it makes sense for him to
mhm.
base his game on that. Like, you can't count on, "Well, let me play as if Kuzi might change her mind." Like, you gotta just go with what's most likely at this point.
Yeah, like where I think that taking out Renee over Shania last week would have been the play, or during the double eviction. Renee over Daniel. I don't know.
So, would it have been better at all? No, because he's keeping Daniel. I was gonna say, like, if it was Shania versus Daniel here, would it be any different, or would they be in the exact same situation? Or
I'd keep Shania.
would she have been more likely to be evicted this week than Renee?
If Ty had evicted Renee over Shania, and it's funny that we talk about this because in this drop, Ty has a conversation with Claudia where he says that he told Renee, "Hey, you should be grateful because I could have convinced Claudia to take you out during the double eviction and I didn't." And
Oh,
Claudia's like,
don't
"Well, that was my decision."
don't worry. We're gonna get to this conversation. I have
Yeah.
opinions.
But if Ty had taken out Claudia, or sorry, Renee instead of Shania, then theoretically everything plays out the same. Then I would absolutely say it's not even a question. Take out Daniel over Shania. Shania just didn't perform as well in quiz competitions. This is why I would keep Shania in general. Again, if I'm Ty, the two people I want sitting in the final three with me are Anika and Shania. Those are the two people who have performed the worst in quiz comps. If I feel like I need to win a quiz comp, those are the people I want to be with. Granted, it's very possible that Claudia is actually willing to take him. So maybe I do want Claudia. Maybe it's Claudia and Anika that I want. And maybe because if I do want Claudia, maybe I can't have Shania because then Claudia might not be as loyal to me. So there might be some reason there, but I'd still want Shania over Renee last week, but and then probably this week too. But
Mhm.
either way,
It's
uh,
crazy that we're even having this conversation about, like, which of these people is more likely to take Ty, because they all might, even though none of them should even be thinking about it.
yeah. So let's talk about the drop here. Ty, basically the only thing that happens is Ty has a conversation with Claudia. He asks Claudia. Now that this is the thing that might surprise you. Ty knowing he's gonna evict Renee, right? We already kind of thought that. We get confirmation he's definitely evicting Renee in this drop. What might surprise you is that Claudia knows and seems to be okay with it.
And I mean, I get it, because what can she do? But we'll get into some of the exact quotes. It's pretty rough.
Yeah. So Ty asks Claudia how the talk with Renee went. Does she know she's going? And Claudia says, yeah, she got emotional. It was an emotional conversation. And this pisses Ty off, I guess.
How dare people have feelings?
If she wants to be emotional, that's on her. I don't understand why she'd be emotional or mad at me for the things that she's done to put herself in this situation. And Claudia says, "Well, I don't think she agrees with the reasoning that has been given to her for why she's leaving. She said she feels like she's never been a priority in your game, Ty." And he goes, "Ha! This girl is too much." Well, whatever she wants to say, I don't care at this point. I tried to play as understanding as possible. This is the thing. I care too much sometimes. That's my problem. Sometimes I wish I didn't care so much because I'd be a dog in this house if I didn't care as much as I did and just did what was good for me. Again, this is I if I closed my eyes, I could swear I'm listening to Jackson Mickey, because I think he might have said this exact quote at one point.
Yeah, this is one of those things where you're like, you must be paraphrasing. Like, there's no way that someone would be so out of touch with themselves to say that. You know what? I just care too much in this house. That's my flaw. But no, that's he said that and he believes that, and that seems to be the problem. I just don't understand why he can't understand why Renee's upset that she's going home. Like, how dare she be upset that I'm voting her out? How dare, like, she's so entitled.
Yeah. He says, and here's the thing: it wouldn't be fair to Daniel
Mm.
that he leaves because Renee made a mistake and didn't keep Kuz or didn't keep Kuz. It's Renee should pay for that mistake.
Because apparently that's all this game is about is all right, who was the liar? Let's get the person who lied out, except when they're aligned with me, then it's fine.
Well, that's the thing. Like we can talk all we want about which move is the right move for Ty, but he is not thinking along those lines.
No, I was so happy that I was on the update today and not yesterday, and you had to deal with that conversation of like actually parsing through it and trying to figure out what they were arguing about. 'Cause I got halfway through and I was like, I don't even know what they're talking about. You lied about this move, and I did. I have no idea what they were fighting about.
Yeah, he says it's just so frustrating with Renee because he's been trying to work with her for so long, and she still never trusted him. And this is a line that Ty has been using all season long. From jump when he was working against all of them with Zach and was like, "Why don't you trust me? Even though I'm not giving you any information and working against your interests." Actually actively trying to get you on the block at times, telling people that I'm just using you in the game as a vote. Why don't you trust me? It's your fault that we're in this situation because you never trusted. It's always the other person's fault for not trusting Ty. They should all have trusted Ty despite the times that he has actively gotten caught lying to them.
That doesn't count. Yeah. Well,
Because
actually,
he only did that because they didn't trust him first.
right, of course. And so there was this one time, so Renee should have known this. There was a time when I was on the update for this one actually, when Ty and Hope were having a conversation in the Circle K room, and Ty's like, you know what, maybe I should reach out to Renee and try and do something. And Renee should have read his mind, knew that he said that, reached out to him, trusted him despite everything you just said, and then he wouldn't have evicted her this week. So it's her fault.
Yeah. So then he basically says, and I told her straight up, I could have taken you out in the double eviction because I could have convinced Claudia to nominate you. And Claudia's literally like, what? I mean, I did make my own decision. He's like, sure. Yeah, but I could have pitched it though. So,
Because he told her, she's like, well, you were making an emotional decision. So he came in there with his logic and helped Claudia make her decision, sure. But because she's an emotional woman, he would have made it for her because he's such a good helper.
yeah. So I mean that's really what's going on here. They then are gonna go and study. And this is why I think that Claudia really may actually take Ty because this is absurd. Ty is trying to study days. He's not good. He's getting a lot wrong. But Claudia is there correcting him and helping him study. This guy would definitely lose a part 3 of the final 3 HOH to Claudia if she did not help him study. But she is helping him study. So
I can only assume that she's just playing for second at this point. She's like, hey, if he wants to take me and I'll sit there and get my 50K. No, is it 50K in Canada? No way.
No,
It's
it's
be
20.
Like 20? Yeah, okay. Get her 20K and I don't know. I don't know whether this is the right time for me to rant about Claudia. Let's do it. Okay, so she's helping him study. So another part of that conversation they had was Ty was telling Claudia, if I keep you, being Renee, if I keep Renee, it's all girls, and I send Daniel home, I'm giving them the chance to reignite and me again be at the bottom, them being the girls. He's telling this to Claudia, and Claudia's like, yeah. So he's saying that his worst fear right now is that all the girls get together. There's 3 girls and 2 guys. And Claudia is just like not doing anything with this information. And I want so bad. Why could she not try? Go to Anika. I know Anika and Renee are mortal enemies, but like literally, girl, try anything. Be like, let's get the girls together. Why does Ty want to keep Daniel so much? Let's get Daniel out. The girls go together. We work together to get Ty out. Like, do something. Like, why is she just staying here? Just sit at like she seems like a very sweet, nice person, but like she has some sort of like game. Like I know she was hungry for the game. She wanted Ty out. Like she was doing something. I thought she was going to be one of those girls that's like, oh, the Kayla, I'll evict my showmans. And everyone's like, yeah, sure. But she actually was going to do it. So where is that gone? Is it just from like being trapped with this guy and having no one else to talk to for 50 days? Like, where has that Claudia gone? Why isn't she talking to Anika and trying to make something happen? Okay, that was my rant.
Yeah, I mean, he just couldn't get rid of the guy. He not only couldn't be gotten rid of, but continues to have power. And
But she could
you
be like
know,
doing this to his face. Well, she doesn't have to help him study. She could be like, "Oh, I don't remember either. Wow, that's so hard." But like, at least be trying to do something whilst acting like she's still with him, right? Because I don't know, would he catch on to that? Probably
yeah.
not.
I mean, it's some people I don't really have that. Like Claudia's never really been a deceptive player.
I guess
She's
that's why
never
Ty
really
will
been
talk
in
to
a
her.
Yeah, she's never really been in a position of power to do that and has never really actively played that way. That's why she really messed up after Akuzi's first HOH and didn't take advantage of the position that she was in to play both sides because she doesn't really play both sides.
Right.
And when she wasn't into Ty, she was pretty straightforward with him about it. Eventually broke up with him. Now is back together. And I think that she just is like, you know, uh, external motivations sometimes influence internal sort of feelings, right? And so if you feel like you need to be close to Ty in order to make it to the end because he's winning comps, then you start feeling it sometimes. And so, it all kind of reinforces itself, I think.
Yeah, I saw Kevin Jacobs had a tweet that was like for the double eviction. It was like, this is why you need these long games. And I've definitely complained before about when you get to the final weeks of the game, it's like, this is boring. Why are we watching them do absolutely nothing? But like, you do need to have the full Big Brother experience. Like, you need to be trapped with these people and have only Ty talking your ear off day in and day out. And then these kinds of things happen where it's like, I guess this is just what I'm doing now. Like, she's been beaten down enough to not want to go and do these things. Granted, I definitely agree with what you're saying. She's just not that kind of player. Like, she was never going to be that, like, let me go and be sneaky and align with the other side. And so I guess that's just me projecting what I want to see onto her when that won't happen. Would Renee be that? I feel like Renee could do that.
I
Maybe.
think Renee, like theoretically,
Yeah.
like intellectually knows that that's a good thing to do, but is incapable of socially actually doing it.
Yeah.
That's what we sort of seen from her over the season.
Yeah.
So
It's real
I
it's
mean,
relatable.
I think this is why we are constantly having to point to Daniel as like the player of the season because he's the only person who's even both capable and willing to do those two things.
to play the
He's like the
game.
only person in the game who's actively played all sides. Because even Kuzi was like would just drop people. Like she was, temporarily in positions to do these things, but then would drop them fairly quickly. Obviously, Ty tried to play that game too, but he completely failed at it. Anika has never really been. She's kind of like been the sidekick to Daniel when it comes to these movements. And so like I guess Hope actually was one of the other people that tried, but
No.
obviously Hope was Hope.
You're saying
So
he was the one that could play both sides well?
Hope is somebody who actively tried to like maintain connections to
Oh, I
all
see.
sides, and but socially he wasn't as good as Daniel, obviously. So it never played out. So yeah, I mean, like that's I think when we're looking at the caliber of the cast, yeah, we're looking at like literally Daniel, and then other like who's like not really doing well in like also very flawed player.
I mean,
You know,
allowed himself to go up on the block this week. Hello, very
yeah,
flawed.
like is and this is just like this is the like Daniel is the only person who's the basics of Big Brother down. Like
Yeah.
everybody else isn't even there.
I'm so torn because, like, on one hand, this is kind of fun. Like, it's fun to not just have the game bots in there doing the optimal move. Like, it's fun to see people make mistakes. And if there was one great super fan still left, they might be running circles around everyone and it might be boring. But, like, this isn't that much fun either. Like, it's fun when you can kind of complain about for a minute, but then it's like, okay, I want to root for someone. And you're kind of looking around, like, all right, I have Ty. No.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, like thinking about cast, right? Like last season, great cast. I mean, lots of players who actively were trying and were flawed in their own ways, right? Between like Herman and even Summer was actively playing a bunch of sides. Like a lot of people last season had the basics down, but they were flawed in different ways, and it led to a really chaotic and interesting season. Season 9, um, similar, but I would say like the skill level was a little lower in terms of success. Um, but you did actually have like you actively had a bunch of people again trying to actively play a bunch of sides. And then even like season 7, like a lot of people looked at season 7 as like a weak cast because the Pretty Boys dominated. But you did actually have some decent players in the mix, between like Sam and what's her name? Chelsea. Those are probably the main two
That's it.
in terms of people who are actively trying to play all sides. But then you had at least 3 of the Pretty Boys who were all doing it as well. So um, I think that when we look at this season and we look at like, okay, who were the people that were really playing? You have the people that
Kuzi?
got evicted immediately and Daniel.
Yeah.
And then Kuzi is there pretty much. And then, Jonathan's a great guy, but he wasn't really doing that. Santina never really found her footing. Hope never really found, even though he tried, never really found any footing either. Like it's just kind of, you just kind of draw a blank. Everybody kind of just stuck to their groups and played it out.
So when casting, you need to like ask them, okay, like name a couple of Big Brother Canada winners, and they do that. And so, okay, name a couple like weeks, like who won HOH on what week. And if they can answer that, then nope, too much. You know too much. You just need like a base knowledge of the game, not too much though, and then you'll be perfect
No,
player.
I
Fun.
I I think the issue is that you do need more. You need more. Not. I mean, this cast is probably the lightest on fans that we've almost ever seen
Mhm.
in Big Brother Canada, and I think that's why we're here. I think that's in terms of. I mean, if you like this season and the trajectory of it, then like maybe you do like a lesser fan heavy cast. But for me personally, like I would love to have seen more people actively trying to play both sides and like actively play the game beyond just how the comps play out. And so, watching essentially Daniel, Anika, and Kuzi control the entire game, uh, despite making mistakes all over the place and losing almost every single competition.
But the
Because
problem
nobody else
is,
could
oh, go
even
ahead.
step into that power vacuum was like, I mean, it worked out because they
Mhm.
lost all this but imagine if they didn't, right?
Right.
Like, this would
But
have
that's
been,
exactly it.
yeah.
We don't want another Pretty Boys. Like we can't have people that know the game too well that say, "All right, get the big alliance together. Everyone shut up, lay down until jury, and then we'll just go from there." Like then it's boring. So if they know it too well, if they know the blueprint,
Well, it's the problem is that if you have 1 or 2 people who know the game and are capable of winning comps, they're just gonna stomp.
yeah.
If you have 10 people that know the game, like in like last season, then okay, now we're cooking, right? Now it's a really interesting, all kinds of different sides and layers and people talking and communicating and making deals and lying to each other. And
So
it
you just
doesn't just
need
come down to
like
comps.
to throw some Kyles in there to just mess things up. Like you can have all these good players and then throw some just like random people in there that are going to win and do something completely
But
crazy, and then that can stop.
even Kyle, though, knew the show decently well and actively tried to play the game. That's kind of what I'm
That's
talking about.
true.
Like Kyle had the knowledge and just like played all kinds of wild based on that knowledge. Whereas like a recruit that comes in and tries to play the game is usually just going to be very straightforward.
Yes.
Get the bros together, win comps, go to the end. Whereas somebody coming in who has the bros together but really wants to make their mark on the game and really knows and thinks that they're up on the manipulation and the strategy, they're gonna do wild things. They're gonna, do all kinds of weird stuff.
Some
And
weird
so
stuff, eh? And that brings up actually another complaint I have for today. So, just briefly at the end of the Ty and Claudia conversation, they mentioned something about taking $1,000 in the veto competition. And Claudia's like, oh, yeah, I should have taken it too. So, they're offering them money again in the competition for whatever reason. But, like, stop doing this. Like, every competition has a $5,000 reward. Then people are only going to care about winning the competitions. And you get to the end, you get 100K. That's like, okay, I won 5 competitions. I'm like basically there. Then people are just playing for longevity instead of playing to win. And unless, I don't know, crowdfund to raise the prize money or tell the sponsors stop giving like little amounts of money for the competitions, obviously they want, look at how generous they are, I guess is why they're doing it. But like I hate this like throwing money at them all the time during the game.
I mean, I think it's probably fine. I think a lot of people talk about like money incentive, but I think you could play this game for no money and people would still act mostly the same. You occasionally get like Jesse from Survivor, who is like really going against his nature because he really needs the money.
Right.
But we rarely see that on Big Brother already. Like, even though, I mean, it's still a large chunk of change, but very few people on Big Brother are really like, maybe like Danielle Reyes back in the day, who was like, I need this money for my family. But I think Daniel Reyes, stick her in any social strategy game and
Yeah,
she's
for
going to be
sure.
deadly, right? Like, I think that was probably just a line she used.
I mean, like, imagine
So
they're playing for 500K. Does Shania in the double eviction say, "It's fine, vote me out"? Like, I feel like it might
I
make a
think so.
difference. What?
I think so. 100K, 500K. What does that mean to Shania? Like, it's still a bunch of money. Like, you would really be like, okay, I'm willing to leave for 100K, but I'm not willing to leave for 500K.
I mean, I
Uh,
guess, but it's much harder to do. I don't know. They need like to see like a big pile of cash standing there in front of them. Do you really want to give this all away, Shania, just because you have a little friend here who's gonna be sad if she like whatever?
I think
I
look, I think you gotta at least the next jump is 1 million. I think you need to,
mm,
when you say 1 million,
yeah, it has
a
that
hundred
feel
thousand
to
is
it.
like, yeah, like 100,000, 500,000, like that seems maybe attainable in your
Mhm.
lifetime, depending on your position in life. But like $1 million is something that seems like something I think a lot of people would be like, I'd never touch that amount of money in my life.
Mhm.
And maybe then you'd get a little more, but I think you lose sight of it in the house. I think that you go on the show and initially you're like, yeah, lots of money. And maybe really toward the end you start thinking about it like final three. But I think in the middle it's just kind of this like, yeah, would be nice. Would be nice if I won, but
Yeah.
it's still so far to go. Am I really gonna get that close to taking it? I don't know.
It's kind of like how you forget the cameras are there. Like it just becomes your regular life. Oh yeah, I'm playing for some money. I mean, that's your life. You work for money. Like I can see how they'd forget that. But
And there's also like the problem of like the new problem with this show is, which is, well, I want to be an influencer. I want to
mm,
change in career. Like the money would be nice, but maybe this show, if I last long enough and am a big enough character, will be enough to get me out of my dead end job that I don't like and into a life of influencing, which seems so fun. Right? And I'll make more money. And you hear this all the time on
we
on
heard
the
it this
show. People in
season.
the cast, yeah, like I could 100K, I can make 100K in a month influencing from this show, right? Like
Yeah.
dumb people say that, but uh, people say that.
Mm.
What are
I
you
don't even
gonna
know
do?
where we were. I don't know where to continue. They were studying. They were studying when I interrupt them. Okay, so Claudia's helping Ty
That's
study.
basically they were studying and they got interrupted by because they were made have-nots. They didn't know why. And the restriction got lifted. They got a bunch of food and then they ate the food. And that's pretty much it.
Because it was
Uh,
for Anika's birthday. She had a little birthday hat. But I don't know
yeah.
why they put them on slop for 4 days to give her a birthday party.
They
It's
do
very
it every
random.
season. They put them on slop every season
Oh,
for
for a
like
different
breaking
reason.
rules or like,
Yeah, okay.
like what they make an excuse. It's probably just gonna be a segment on the show.
I was convinced that they were going to use their Wendy's points to get off slop or something. Like, how in Survivor they get like, and now you have the Outback, and they're like, we haven't had real food in 400 days. This is amazing. I thought they were going to do that, and it's like, oh, we got Wendy's. We're so hungry. This is great, but they didn't. So we still waiting on those Wendy's points. Um, it's going to be another secret door pre-breakfast food announcement. I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? I'm just like, while we're here, I've just been like, I've realized today that we're almost done with the season. The last few seasons of Big Brother, like I've been excited about. I've like talked to people in real life about them because there have been like really interesting things. And I've talked to people about Taylor's journey. I was talking to people about the chaos and the gummy bears of Big Brother Canada
Mm,
10. Like I even Big Brother Canada 9 was like, man, there's a really wild house. Like real people who couldn't who just don't care about the show at all, like would indulge me in regular everyday conversation about Big Brother. And I haven't like I've out in the world, I haven't even thought about this season. I haven't like I'd never like what would I talk to somebody about this season who doesn't watch the show? Like
I
They
tried.
don't
I
have
tried.
feeds. Like,
I was
you
telling
know?
my husband when I was watching the double eviction, I was like, "Oh, this is actually an interesting double eviction. Like this girl is evicting her friend because her boyfriend made her put her up," and he's just like, "Okay." It's just like there's just not enough like intrigue and like, but there was this whole big build. Like it's just not enough of like a
Mhm.
cool story to tell people. So I get that. Yeah, it's not. It's very like Melissa keeps saying on the roundtable. It's hard to feel engaged, especially over the weekend. It's like, all right, the eviction's done. All right, it's like, see you on Tuesday when the next thing comes out, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, Ty said something about bidding or betting during, I think during the, I don't know. It's not honestly like, who knows? I don't know if it had anything to do with points or if it had to do with the competition itself, the veto. But
Well, he said
I think there
something
was,
about he's like, I had 30,000 and I was like way ahead or something, which makes me think it was the veto if he was way ahead, although he just seems to
well,
be
but
that kind of
30,000
person.
is I think the amount of points that he had, Wendy's points.
But doesn't he only have like 18,000 from last leaderboard? I don't know. You wouldn't remember, I'm sure, but
Is it? I Because didn't Kuzi have like 20 and then he probably already had like
well, I thought that was the
5.
total after she gave it to him. But maybe you're right. Maybe it did have something to do with Wendy's points. But then like they could have taken 1,000. I thought they said $1,000. Maybe it was 1,000 points, but I can't imagine that would be worth talking about. So
Who
maybe
knows?
we'll see it on the episode finally, and you can stop talking about it.
Yeah. And yeah, it did say eviction. I think it said
Yes, we
eviction
forgot
tomorrow
about
on the
that.
screen. So
So they were talking when they were studying. Claudia was saying, "Yeah, we had the ceremony yesterday being Sunday, and then today on the drop it said tomorrow being
yeah.
today." Well, we followed that. So there is an eviction happening today in theory. That's crazy,
In
right?
theory, yeah. So which they might be doing just to like give themselves more time to do the final four stuff,
But
you
then
know?
will they have an eviction on Thursday?
I think they would, I mean, given that it's all like today's going to be double eviction flashbacks plus HOH comp and noms, and then they'll just play the week out probably and just say they run the eviction on Thursday like normal. And then, but they just give themselves more time to film the final four. Like normally the final four stuff would be, HOH takes place on Thursday, nominations on Friday, veto on Saturday, and then surprise eviction on Sunday or Monday. Um, but maybe I don't know, maybe they wanted more time. Maybe they wanted to speed things up and have the eviction earlier or something.
But doesn't that mean we won't get a drop tomorrow?
It's possible.
Usually
I mean,
they've been
anything's
warning
possible.
us.
We've only not had a drop when Zach quit. So
Yes.
because even when Vanessa quit, we got a drop. We just didn't know.
Hmm.
So they have actually been fairly consistent with it. But you know, we usually lose feeds when the final four eviction happens. So that would normally be like Sunday or Monday, but if they're speeding things up, it might be earlier.
Yeah,
I
that's
would
true.
assume we still get a drop tomorrow, even if Renee's gone. But I don't know how long we're gonna have.
But would they? I don't think they would give us content with Renee being gone, and then Thursday be like, "Oh, who left? Oh, Renee left." They like to keep that close to their
I mean, they
chest.
did that with the safety chain.
I guess so. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
We knew Santino was gone before they were like, it's the most dramatic safety chain. We already knew.
No, okay, you're right. Okay, so maybe they will. That's interesting. And then they'll have the special eviction on Monday, and then they'll have the finale next Thursday. Because there's only after today's eviction, there's only two more, right?
Um, two more evictions or two more?
Two more evictions. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep. Okay, that tracks.
yeah. So and yeah, Bill's correct as well. Tomorrow's drop could also be prior to eviction. If the eviction is today, it could be from before the eviction happens.
Very good point.
And then maybe at that point they say, hey, no more. Who knows? But
Okay.
yeah, that's what we got for you.
I have a fun little exercise for us if we have time.
Oh, sure.
I wanted to maybe place award Claudia's HOH and this coming week. Does she place in the worst HOH reigns of all time? What do
Oh
you
yeah,
think?
I mean, I think she's for Canada. I think easily top 5.
Okay, because I have what I think my top five are. So
Okay.
we got BB spoilers ahead if you haven't watched past BB Can seasons, maybe just like tap out, see you later. Okay, so we got BB Can 10, Kyle getting Steph out. We have BB Can 3, Zach getting Jordan out. We have BB Can 5, Cindy getting Netta out. And then I had Claudia here, so at number 4. And then I wasn't sure about number 5. I had a suggestion, Brittany getting out Willow. There's a couple other bad ones in there. Is there any that come to mind for you that are worse?
Was Raul an HOH? He
Yeah,
was an
so
HOH, right?
Raul got Mitch out,
Yeah.
but he didn't
That
leave
was
for a
a
while. He didn't leave for
that
a
was a
while
real
after
bad
that.
one.
Or no, he left the next week because yeah. So the reason I wasn't sure to include that one is because there was some things in place that caused him to leave the next week. Like he was targeted because he was connected to Jared and Kelsey.
I think well here's the thing though, because I think both Raul and Zach, even though I do think Raul has an all-time bad HOH, and so does Zach, they both were impacted by twists,
Right.
negatively impacted by it. Raul only targets Mitch because of the fake double eviction, that stuff. Still a bad decision, but
Mhm.
shouldn't have done it. And then Zach as well. Obviously, don't put up your closest ally, but uh, um, uh, Jordan never leaves without the Cindy return and the Cindy uh, weirdness and how those votes went. Um,
Sure, but didn't he have more agency in that decision than Claudia did? Like Claudia didn't think through her move, but like would not intentionally have put her ally up and let them out versus Zach put his ally in danger. Claudia caused her ally to be in danger by making a bad decision.
I mean, I would say Claudia's worse,
Wow, okay.
because there was no reason to do it. Whereas like and again, it was a bad reason.
Mhm.
But you could see the logic in what Jordan and Zach were doing. And again, like they get negatively impacted by somebody who got to leave, talk to people, come back and pretend like she was with them, but actually knew information about them that they couldn't have known
Sure.
she knew. Whereas with Claudia, it's all right there. Like there's no twist impacting her decision. Maybe a time constraint, but I think as we're seeing, like she still agrees with her own decision now.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy. I didn't think about the fact that she was like, "No, yes, this was fine that this happened." Because we're not only counting her getting Shania out, we're counting her this week, um, Renee leaving. Granted, this wasn't so much of her decision and she is safe, but like the fact that she's not trying to save Renee, I'm kind of including in this like 2 week
yeah.
situation because a lot of these other ones are 2 weeks where it's like they're HOH, then they leave, and I'm kind of counting that 2 week block.
Yeah, I think you got to include, and it wasn't like the worst results, which maybe takes this away, but like the Pax Bros trying
Yeah,
to
that was a
nominate
big one.
themselves is definitely
It's so hard to
definitely a
include that one because
contender.
they win, and, like, I get it because it was so bad, but it's like, they won, so it's like, yeah, it's hard, but that one's really bad.
I mean, this comes up with Big Brother Canada especially a lot. It's like somebody's got to win. Uh,
Exactly.
when it's down to Pax Bros who themselves and Kelsey who literally got evicted and then got to watch them for a week on live feeds. One of them's got to win.
Oh, yeah, that's very fair. I do think Kyle getting Steph out is worse than Claudia's. You agree on that?
Um,
Stop it. No way.
I'd have to think about it. I'd have to think about it.
He went out the next week because he made such a bad move by putting his own alliance up just because he didn't wanna, like, make people mad. Like, he knew she was leaving.
I think it's probably worse. But it's one of those things where it's one of those things where it's like Cody taking Derek, like very clearly, cost him $500,000 because it was at the end of the game versus something
Mhm.
that happens earlier in the game, where it's like, yeah, Kyle early in the game made this really bad play, and it certainly cost him immediately following. But like Claudia being so close to the end with the decisions are so more clear cut at the end, that it's like it feels worse that like it's so obvious. Keep your trio at the final six. Don't do a move that will ruin your trio that you are well positioned within.
But, like, had she
Whereas
not made a mistake with the numbers? You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like she's like, "Yes, I am choosing for Shania to go up and out." Like, she accidentally put herself in that position,
that feels
regretted
worse
that.
to me.
That's fair.
That she failed basic math. Like Kyle could have done 2 plus 2 equals 4. You know what I
You
mean?
said that with great confidence. Are you sure? I mean, I don't know.
I think you have to categorize endgame and early game differently because it's such a different calculus for how those decisions are made. Because like I think you'd also have like Ryan in there,
Yep.
in BB Can 6.
Because like I thought of like with Josh cutting Betty, but that almost felt like too different of a thing. Like final two choices kind of seems like its own little bag.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, even Josh's triple eviction decisions
Oh yeah.
were not good. And part of it too is like, are you judging strictly the nominations and the outcome? Because those are very easy to judge. Like this is because it's like, okay, if you're judging like behavior and social dynamics, that's a little trickier. Like a lot of Kyle's move wasn't what he did with the nominations themselves. They were how he handled everything outside of the nominations, even though the nominations themselves were also bad.
Yeah. I guess
Whereas
you'd have to count that.
Claudia's very clear cut, like just anybody could look at this situation and say, very basic math, very basic logic, don't do this.
Mhm.
Right. And so they're both bad, but in sort of different ways. And Josh's is kind of similar, where it's like you could theoretically look at Josh's triple eviction and be like, that doesn't make sense. But you could also look at it and be like, it's not the worst, but the way he handled it was
Mhm.
terrible. Right. And so, there's all kinds of different factors. We could probably make a podcast on that.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. Because I have the list of Big Brother US, but I think we won't get into that because that would be too much. But yeah, it's really interesting. I would love to like see how bad can they be, because to be honest, going through this list, I was like, oh, in comparison, Claudia's doesn't seem as bad, but you seem to maybe disagree. I might have to think
I
about
think
it from more of your perspective.
I think we could categorize. I think
Yeah.
we could make different kinds of really bad HOHs. Like HOHs that were negatively affected, like maybe Cody's in BB 19, his
Yeah.
first HOH, negatively impacted by a twist. But it's also like negatively impacted by a twist, but also made bad decisions in light of that.
Right.
It's like a forced error, I guess I would call it. And then like unforced errors that are like basic stuff like Claudia's, and then unforced errors that are just like social stuff like Kyle's, or like other HOHs who just like they theoretically made the right move, but for all the wrong reasons. And maybe social, like Ty's HOH, even taking out Jonathan, but for terrible reasons, and handle things so poorly. So yeah, I think there's some interesting stuff to dig into there.
At least we reconfirmed that Claudia's was bad. I didn't even include Anika's in there because Daniel's not going. It doesn't feel, because like you could get into a whole other host of things where like you were talking about the unforced error, where it's like they did a bad move but it worked out okay. It's like a whole other conversation because that's where Anika's at. Did the same bad thing, but I don't think Daniel leaving for Anika is even as bad as Shania leaving for Claudia. And he's not leaving. So
yeah. And I think just finally the thing for Claudia too is that we focus a lot on not nominating Ty, but it's also the decision to take out Shania
yeah, that's
instead
right.
of Renee, which is wild. And then if you want to talk social implications as well, it completely negates all of what she had built up in nominating Ty earlier in the season to now looking like she's back in Ty's pocket, which I think also just like destroys so many other aspects of her game as well. So
That's interesting to like the goodwill she gains with Ty by hanging out with him all the time and being back in a showmance. Is that actually worse for her because now everyone else is seeing that and not respecting her for it? But if she doesn't do that, he might evict her. So like, what's the worst evil there?
I mean, it depends. Like, is she capable of pretending to be in his pocket and then feeding him bad answers so that she can beat him in part 3 of the final 3 HOH and cut him for a win? Like, that's great.
Yeah.
But if she's actually just with him, then it doesn't matter if you get to the end unless you're happy with second place. Like, I'd rather, if I have to go all in on one or the other, I'd rather be against him and have a chance to win the game, especially if I'm so close and I have 2 allies at final 6, like to face off against him. Like I'm okay. I'm happy to take those odds. He's
Yeah.
not even, because that's the thing too. Like we're talking about him being this unbeatable comp person, and he kind of is with the kinds of comps that we're seeing. But he's actually not that good at comps in comparison to other comp beasts. He's losing almost half of the competitions he competes in. So all it takes is just one, and then I've basically won the game. Like I'm okay with those odds.
And she's trying to change that. She's trying to make it so he does win, and she's screwed.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's what we have for you today. We turned this into a podcast.
That's what I love about Big Brother. Even when it's like just it's there's always something to talk about. Unless it's like one of those days where you get 2 hours of literally nothing, then that's really hard. But there's always someone there that's gonna make a bad movie you can make fun of them for. And that's really why we watch this show.
There you go. Well, I will be live tonight, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, watching tonight's episode of Big Brother Canada 11. Again, I think we're going to see some more of the double eviction stuff. I guess. I mean, look, I'd be very happy to get some exonerating content for Claudia. I don't know what it would be. But
Yeah, I don't think. Well, because we saw a little bit of it. She's just like, "Oh man, I didn't even think about this." It's like, what could she? I don't know, unless she's lying to Shania, which she's not. So there, I don't think there's anything. But I'll be happy to be proven wrong.
yeah, and then the HOH and then probably Noms again, and we'll maybe see, like, did Daniel actually co-sign this, or did he try to push Anika and failed? I mean, either way, it's a huge mark on his game. But I guess different kinds of marks depending on how it was a failure. And we'll be live after the podcast, or live after the episode, to recap what goes down. I'll be back tomorrow with another update, assuming we get another drop, where we will likely discuss, I guess, Renee being gone and maybe the new HOH. Probably not,
I
though.
doubt it.
Yeah, probably not. So stay tuned for that. Survivor Stock Watch coming up. Check out the Twitch channel again. Yeah, that's what I got. Mel, what do you got going on?
You can find me on Twitter at @UCanandUMel, and I'm preparing for Toronto. Very excited. Looking forward to this finale. I don't know if I have someone to root for, but at least we'll be surrounded by fun people, so it'll be fun either way.
Yes. All right. Well, that's what we have for you all. Thank you so much for joining us here today, and I will see all of you next time.